So today we start on chapter 5 of the Minos book, spontaneous physical manifestations. I have to admit that for those who have participated participated in the Sundays studies of physical phenomena, this will sound rather repetitive,
Yeah.
but it is part of the book. It is something that I have to cover, and hopefully any questions that remained from those studies may be answered here. And spontaneous means exactly what the word means, spontaneous.
Hmm.
Okay, not planned. Usually not in a scene. It could be in a scene section and be spontaneous, but definitely if it happens in the home when you're ready to go to sleep, then
Hmm.
it's something spontaneous, not something planned. Definitely in a case when the phenomena or the spirits have not been invited to perform anything. Okay, and why physical? Because it um, affects our physical senses, our physical eyes, our physical ears, our physical nose, our physical sense of tactile, right? Because it affects our physical senses. It's called a physical phenomenon or physical manifestation. All right?
Okay, we begin.
Yes.
Chapter 5, Spontaneous Physical Manifestations, Noises, Light, and Disturbances. The phenomenon we have just dealt with are usually artificially produced. However, they sometimes occur spontaneously, without the participant's will, and in fact, they almost always become quite untimely. Furthermore, what excludes them from the notion that they are the effects of an imagination that has become overexcited by spiritist ideas is that they occur among persons who have never even heard of spiritism and at times when they are least expected. These phenomena, which may be regarded as evolving natural spiritist practice, are very important because they exclude any suspicion of contrivance. This is why we have recommended to individuals who concern themselves with spirit phenomena that they gather all the data of this type which they may become aware of, but especially that they carefully determine their reality through a detailed study of the circumstances, so that they may assure themselves that they are not the objects of a simple illusion or hoax.
Okay. So it was in the 70s when there was this UFO hysteria. Now people are seeing unidentifying flying objects all over the place, all over the world, and there was tremendous amount of investigations of the existence or not of UFOs, of unidentifying flying objects. That one of the NASA investigators of the fact, giving an interview, told once that they would pay a lot of more attention, give a lot of more, not validity, but perhaps validity also, to an individual who reports seeing an UFO, something strange in the air, someone who is very simple, someone who does not know anything about all the hysteria, um, someone in the rural areas that it's not participating in all those conversations because they are the one less likely to make up stories. And if they do make up stories, they are much less, those stories are much less likely to be believed.
Right.
If you got, let's say, an astronomer, someone who was studying UFOs and doing all this study, may be able to make up a very good story that, and fool a lot of people. So at that time, when someone in rural areas who somewhat simple describes, an object in the sky, they will pay a lot of more attention to those individuals. And I make this correlation here with this part of the physical manifestation, what Kardec is saying here, is that those spontaneous, not planned um, manifestations give greater validity for the manifestation themselves, especially when it happens with individuals who are not interested in spiritism or what spirits do or exist or don't. And it's happened in their house, it's happened with them, and they know nothing about it. So they're much less likely to to be producing something that is a fraud, um, and give some validity to the phenomenon itself, because as Kardec puts over here, this phenomenon, which may be regarded as involve natural spirits practice, are very important because they exclude any suspicion or contrivance. Because if you are going on in a seance and you prepare the atmosphere to receive the spirit, and somebody's there witness that with an suspicious with investigation, it may maybe find something, even if in their mind. But if it happens in places where there is no plan for this to happen, and is very often is a disturbance, it gives validity to the fact. So when we investigate the fact, the phenomena, you make sure there is nothing of a host. Host is extremely important.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 83. Of all the spirit manifestations, the simplest and the most frequent are noises and raps. However, it is especially in these cases that we must be on guard against illusion, since there are many natural causes that can produce them. The wind whistling or banging an object, our own moving of an object without our awareness of it, an acoustic effect, a hidden animal, an insect, etc. Even off-colored pranks. Besides, spirit noises have peculiar characteristics with variable intensity and tone, and which makes them easy to recognize and not to be confused with creaking wood, crackling fire, or the dull tick-tock of a clock. The raps are dry, sometimes muffled, weak and light, sometimes loud and distinct, even noisy, and they change places and repeat themselves without any mechanical regularity. The most effective means of controlling them, which leaves no doubt as to their origin, is to subject them to our will. If the noises make themselves heard wherever we are, we so indicate. If they respond to our thought by repeating themselves the number of times we request, and if they increase or decrease their intensity, we cannot deny that there is an intelligent cause present. Nevertheless, the lack of such a response does not necessarily prove the contrary.
Thanks. So especially at the time of the beginning of the manifestation, the seance is the most simplest, the most frequent and common type of physical manifestation will be the noises, the raps, the taps, and all kinds of things that would affect our hearing sense. And the most important advice that Kardec could give to us is to be smart, to use reason. And it says, however, it is especially in these cases that we must be on guard against delusion, since there are many natural causes that can produce them. I mean, then the noises, the raps, the taps. And it is essential that we rule out any mechanical, any physical cause for those noises because before we call them a spiritual phenomenon. Um, Spirits producing this. So you have to make sure that it's not being caused by the wind, it's not being caused by an animal on the roof of your home, or it's not caused by tapping or the water or anything that could produce those those kind of noise or similar kind of noises. Once all of everything else is ruled out, then you may consider it being a physical manifestation, but only then. That's important for one not to make a fool of oneself, and it's very important for one to not compromise the doctrine as a whole, because the so-called enemies of spiritism, those who do not like spiritism, are looking for those. I mean, say how fool those guys are. You know, there is a raccoon in the top of their house, and they keep saying there is a spirit inside their house. So you have to make sure there is no raccoon up there. There is no mouse, nothing else causing all kinds of possible noises. And the first thing that we go, and it's a very dangerous thing, you know, something happened, oh, it is the spirit. The dog bark, or is the spirit at the door? When the dog has a nose that is at least 1,000 times more sensitive than ours. So once a dog bark, likely he had perceived through the nose something that he would never be able to perceive, and it's barking because of it, not because of its spirit. Could it be? Yeah, it could. Once you do all your investigation, rule out everything else, then you may consider the possibility of being an spirit. But you also offer a suggestion if you do believe that it's an spirit, then you test that spirit by offering that spirit the opportunity to produce effects that requires intelligence. If that's if the spirit if those effects are produced, then you have to assume that there is an intelligence behind of it, because an intelligent effect requires an intelligent cause. So that's what Kardec over here. The most effective means of controlling them, which leaves no doubt as to their origin, is to subject them to our will. If the noises make themselves heard wherever we so indicate, if they respond to our thoughts by repeating themselves the number of times we request, and if they increase or decrease their intensity, we cannot deny that there is an intelligent cause present. So the next stop, we're going to talk about fear, but I just go ahead now. If we are brave enough to challenge whoever is producing or whatever is producing those noises, if you suspect to be an intelligent being behind of it, test it. Again, if you can overcome your fear.
So you're saying that for folks at home that suspect that, to test it, is that right?
Yeah, that's what Kardec's telling you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, if you hear taps, noises that you believe is coming from the inside of the wall or inside of the wood, because Kardec says over here, those type of noise produced by the spirits are slightly differentiated. But in order to be differentiated, you have to have heard it before, so you can make a comparison. You can make so you can we can see we be able to perceive the difference between noise come from a wood or from inside of the wall. That is mechanical, and the one that is from a spiritual nature, there is a slightly difference, Kardec's telling here. But you have to experience both to be able to perceive the differentiation, right? Like when you study medicine, let's say to hear an abnormal heartbeat, you have to hear the normal. You have to know what's normal first, and then once you hear what's normal many times, and then you hear one that is not normal, it jumps right in your face to be able, oh, this is different, right? And if you perceive noise that you know to be slightly different, and you suspect that it could be from a spiritual source, you test it. All right, if you are there and you and if are indeed a spirit trying to communicate, make 3 taps. 1, 2, 3. This, no, and then you hear 1, 2, 3. We start suspecting, well, there is an intelligent cause behind of it. Now, is it a spirit or is it a prank? Then you continue into the investigation. There is no prank, then yes, and there is intelligent cause behind it. But really test it. But again, you have to overcome fear. Most people, you just hide under the covers and pray, and hope that whatever it is, just leave and leave me alone. But if you have a sense of curiosity, a sense of scientific investigation, test it.
Okay.
Perhaps not for everyone.
Okay, continue.
Yes, please.
Okay, 84. However, if after a detailed examination, we accept the fact that the noises or any other effect are real manifestations, would it then be reasonable for us to be afraid of them? Surely not, since these cases pose no danger. Only persons who believe that the devil is involved can be affected adversely by them. Like children who fear werewolves and boogeymen. Under certain circumstances, we must agree these manifestations take on very disagreeable proportions and persistence. Therefore, those who experience them naturally desire to get rid of them. Consequently, an explanation regarding the matter is required.
Okay, so I spoke about fear. And fear, as I always say, is byproduct of ignorance. And once we understand something, you don't fear that thing. You may respect, we may maintain our distance as suggested by reason, but not out of fear, out of reason. That's 2 different things. Example, someone who deals with poisonous snakes, who studies them, who works with them, will not be afraid of them, will touch them, but will do it in the proper way with reason to avoid any problems. For us, personally, I would be afraid and walk away from it. But those who understand it is able to deal with that. So education and instruction both eliminates fear. And once you rule out prank, once you rule out all the possible mechanical reasons for the noise, when you conclude there is indeed an spirit in your home, should you be afraid? Well, if you're ignorant of what we study over here, likely yes. If you understand what we study here, likely not. But 2 things about fear also, and leading with that, there are some things that being imprinted in our mind, perhaps for multiple reincarnations, I would guess, that it may be difficult for us to get rid of it. You know, when Kardec mentioned children's of afraid of werewolves and boogmen, um, there are lots of fears and imprinted in us that it's hard for us to get rid of it. The idea that manifestations like that come from the devil, or it's a bad spirit, or it's someone who's trying to come after me, those things. Even with education and instruction, it may be hard for someone to free themselves of these atavisms that we bring with us. Another thing to consider, and Kardec mentions that very often this communication happens in times of peace, in times where you are ready to go to bed, because that's the time that you pay attention to things. You know, if you're busy doing things at home, often noise is happening, and then you just got to ignore them because your mind is somewhere else. You are busy doing something, you work, and in terms of you relax now, everything is calm in the home, then you are more likely to perceive noises. And at that time, you don't want to be bothered. You want to, you want to get rid of that because it's an inappropriate time. And in very rare cases, going to read also, um, if 99% of the cases, um, those noises are harmless, in some situations of different kind of phenomena, it could become somewhat dangerous. And of course, no one wants to be exposed to danger.
Right.
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah. Without mention names, but we heard cases of mediums that they, experience the kind of noise and movement and stuff like um, pretty impressive. Let's put that way. Talking about mediums, since they are able to communicate with with the spirits, the spiritual realm. So why would that happen? Why would not the communication per se happen? Why would have to go to the trouble to all this noise and movement and this physical thing instead of going directly to the proper channel?
Why the spirits will do that?
Yes.
Very often, in most of the cases, is because the spirit is trying to create a disturbance to the life of that medium for whatever reason. Maybe because of the nature of the work that that medium is doing, it's perturbing the kind of the work that spirit is doing. Maybe is direct the relationship between those three spirits, the incarnate and the discarnate, and that the discarnate spirits try to perturb the life of that medium, and trying to perturb the life of that medium in a very palpable physical way, to try to scatter spirit, that person, to try that label that person as being crazy, or we're going to read that eventually here. But they're trying to really create disruption in the life of that medium.
And that sometimes can lead to like injuries, right? Because you mentioned that there was no danger or whatever, but on those cases, I know that it's an exception, but might happen, right?
It
Cases of
might,
yeah.
it might, and as Kadak says here, I mean, it perhaps happens more often that we actually know, they're able to recognize that that's what's happening. Um, if this is the best that I have ever been in my life, it's likely that I have some enemies of the past who have not been able to forgive all the stupidity and violence that I have committed in the past, and put themselves in the right of justice to their own hand, so to say, and may be victimized, but by those spirits in a very palpable physical way. A medium being more sensitive, perhaps you have that perception a much greater way that we that were not ostensive medium.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. 85. We have already stated that physical manifestations are meant to call our attention to something and to convince us that there is a superhuman power present. We have also stated that highly evolved spirits do not concern themselves directly with these manifestations, and that they use less evolved spirits to produce them. Just as we use servants for heavier tasks, highly evolved spirits do so for the purpose we have just indicated. After such purpose has been achieved, and since it is no longer needed, the manifestation ceases. One or two examples will make the matter more intelligible.
Thanks. So in this item, it's obviously Kardec is referring to physical manifestation with good intentions to produce something positive. And if highly evolved spirits wants to call our attention, and the only means that they can have to call our attention is through physical manifestation, something that affects our physical senses. If depending on the degree of more intellectual progress, the perispirits are now extremely ethereal, is more spiritualized, and they are not able to act on more gross, dense matter because their perispirits are now so sublime, so ethereal. They cannot make that association to more dense matter. So they will offer the opportunity for average spirits who are well intended to work, and they will use, I don't like the word use, but that's basically they will hire those spirits, so to say, to perform the phenomena for them. If I cannot carry the refrigerator when I move from my home, I'll have to pay someone who is strong enough to do so, right? If I have the money. and again, keep in mind, of course, here Kardec is mentioning physical manifestations for good causes, for education, for our education, to alert us of some danger or something. And if they are not able to perform the phenomena because the perisphere is so sublimized already, they will hire someone who is willing to assist them, and at the same time, those spirits have an opportunity to work, to do some good work, and learn the valuable lessons themselves.
I have a question.
Sure.
Those physical manifestations, they occur only with a medium present?
A very good question. Yeah, in order for the phenomenon to take place, there gotta be a medium of physical phenomena able to provide ectoplasm for the phenomenon to take place. Now, if something is happening in my home, there may be someone in my home who is a medium of physical phenomena who produces a good amount of ectoplasm that can be utilized by those spirits. Or perhaps my neighbor, in my neighbor's house, there is someone who is a medium of physical phenomena. But yes, there will have to be a medium that produces ectoplasm in the vicinity, if not necessarily in that home, in that building, but someone in the vicinity that will be a source of ectoplasm for the spirits to use.
Elmo, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the purpose. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The purpose of a physical manifestation is basically to awaken or to strike the attention of someone.
Not always. From the part of good spirits, the intention, the objective will always be good. For the malevolent evil spirits, the intention is likely to be malicious and evil one as well. So it depends on who is producing it.
Okay.
Hey, Elmo, the disappearing of things is considered a physical manifestation?
Once all the other sources, all the other causes ruled out, yes, I would say it's possible, yes. But again, make sure they rule out all the other possibilities, because things are disappearing from my home all the time. In reality, it's my bad memory. Never remember where I put things. And it's very easy for me to blame the spirits. I'd love to do that.
I'm not trying to blame the spirits, but it happens so often, and since we tend to blame the spirits, I usually triple check and I take photograph. Okay, it's not here. I took the photograph, it's not here, and then I come back later, the thing is there.
Yeah.
So but besides that, so what should we read too much into it, or is just life happening and it is what it is, or should we so there's something there, they are trying to call my attention, and the way they call my attention is through disappearing things?
I will take more as part of life, and there is a pranking spirit try to make fun with me. Very light, obsession light, so to say. I'll just leave it alone and continue doing my things. If you choose to try to have a conversation with that spirit or pray for that spirit, if you're really convinced that that spirit is the cause of things appearing and disappearing, appearing, yeah, I can always pray for that spirit in either way, and offer that spirit opportunity of growth, invite them to come to SGNY, have a talk with one of us, anything of that matter. But I try to be very sure, very convinced that indeed it has a spiritual cause. Then it's likely spirit was or has something against me, or is trying to tell me something, or is just trying to have fun. Either way, since the spirit will need some help.
Thank you.
Okay. 86.
Yes.
Several years ago, when I first began my study of Spiritism, I was involved with the subject one evening when I heard raps that sounded all around me for 4 consecutive hours. It was the first time that this had happened. I verified that there was no incidental cause involved, but at the moment, I was not able to learn any more about it. At the time, I frequently met with an excellent writing medium. So the next day I questioned the spirit who normally communicated through him as to what had caused the raps. The spirit answered me. It was your familiar spirit wanting to speak with you. And what did he want to say to me? You can ask him yourself because he is right here. So I asked him and he identified himself using an allegorical name. Other spirits told me afterwards that he belonged to a very high order and
Not
that
here.
a very high order and that he had performed a very important role on the earth. He pointed out errors in my work, indicating the exact lines where I could find them. He gave me useful and wise advice and added that he would always be with me and would answer me whenever I wanted to question him. Since then, this spirit has, in fact, never left me. He has given me numerous highly valuable proofs, and his benevolent and effective intervention has helped me both with the everyday problems of physical life and with metaphysical ones. However, ever since that first conversation, the raps have ceased. What did he in fact want? He wanted to establish regular communication with me, but to do so, he had to alert me to his presence. Having done so, he explained his motives and he established a regular relationship. The raps were no longer necessary. It is no longer necessary to beat a drum to awaken soldiers when they have already risen. A very similar case involved one of our friends. For quite some time, he had heard various noises around his room, and which became very annoying. Having an opportunity to interview his father's spirit via a writing medium, he learned what it was that those spirits wanted. He fulfilled their request, and from then on, no longer heard the noises. We would print out that persons who had regular and easy means of communicating with spirits are much less subject to manifestations of this kind, which is understandable. Hmm.
Okay, so this in this item also, Kardec continues with the physical manifestations coming from a good source for a good productive objective. And he gives his own example. Can you imagine being
Hmm.
perturbed by taps and noises for 4 consecutive hours? I would probably start cursing, and 4 hours of noising. I'm very sensitive to noise. I can even imagine 4 hours of it. So
Wow.
Since Kardec's not an ostensive medium, he kind of did his own work, rule out all the other possibilities, and say, well, it's probably spiritual. Let me ask a medium. So he goes to a medium, and the medium says, "Yeah, indeed, it's a familiar spirit of yours." In the footnote over here, it says that
Footnotes, yeah.
in the Postman's work, um, part of this due to communication data on March 25th of 1856, Kardec reveals that this spirit was the spirit of truth, who guided the entire codification, comprised the 5 fundamentals books: the Spirit's Book, the Medium's Book, the Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell, and Genesis. Um, I didn't get a chance to verify it, but if I remember correct, I think the spirit was the spirit of St. Louis that was creating all those taps and noises, and when it was revealed, ended up being the spirit of St. Louis that was with him, and was definitely a major part of the spirits of the group of spirits of truth that brought the codification uh, to us. So Kardec was his own example, and he used the example of a friend also that went through the same experience, being annoyed by noises, not being able to understand, rule out all the other possibilities, go and consult with a medium, and verify that indeed he thought it was his father, that Indeed was the father that was requesting the son to do something. Once the son got the mess and did it, the noise completely stopped. Again, for a good reason, because it's coming from a good source.
So, Elmo,
Yes.
when you answer my question about if we need a medium to for this physical manifestation, so he is not a medium, or he was not a medium, Kardec.
Kardec, no, it was not.
So how could that have happened if only with a medium would that happen? That's I
Right.
don't understand.
Right. That's my point.
Good question.
You don't have to be a medium to receive or, or to perceive or to be affected by physical phenomena. That is for that exact for that reason. It is a physical phenomena that anyone will perceive, not ostensive mediums only. If the noise is happening, it's being produced by physical phenomena, anyone who has ears will hear, not only mediums. But in order the phenomenon to take place, it is necessary to be a medium of a physical effect to
Somewhere. Yeah.
to produce, to offer, to donate ectoplasm. Now, that medium may never find out that he or she is a medium, may never know that he or she is produced that ectoplasm that is being used by a medium, by a spirit. That medium may or may not be in that same building. So let's take Kardec as an example. I don't know, Kardec was not a medium. Maybe his wife was a medium of physical effect. I don't know. Maybe a neighbor next door was a medium of physical effect. But somewhere in the vicinity there was a medium of physical effect that could donate ectoplasm. And when that happened, and that ectoplasm is used to produce noise, everyone will hear that noise, not only the mediums.
Mm.
And that's for specific for that reason that at times it makes sense to make use of physical phenomena. Because if the spirit's trying to alert me or something, in the only way that you catch my attention is through a physical phenomena that I can hear, that I can see with my physical eyes, with my physical ears, since I am not an ostensive medium.
Mhm.
For someone who is an ostensive medium, who is a seeing medium, who can perceive the spiritual world with greater clarity, the physical phenomenon is not really necessary.
Okay, so in his case, it could be that someone on his building, because, or like you said, his wife maybe. Okay.
Someone is the only way that it would have taken place. Because as much as we know, for the phenomena to happen, it's required an ectoplasm. And the ectoplasm is donated by a medium of physical effect who produces good quantity of that substance. But again, very important to pay attention that this medium may live an entire life being a medium of physical phenomena and never have a clue of it. Never have the slightest idea that he or she is indeed a medium of physical effect. Even mediums of intelligent effect very often spend their entire life not knowing that they are mediums. They are interact with the spiritual world and not know that they are mediums.
Guillermo, I mean, at least from the best of my knowledge, the physical manifestation, talking about calling attention from the medium or for the person, doesn't matter if it's a medium or not, are not like to use nowadays, let's put it that way. And for example, for myself, when they want to call my attention, they hijack me on my dreams. So no physical manifestations on that part for me. But what would be the modern way of the spirits, calling our attention nowadays? Because maybe we're missing, because we we're not seeing, we are expecting a pedal rap in our door, and that's not gonna happen anymore. So do you know nowadays how these things are happening?
Well, I don't think the spontaneous physical manifestations are abolished. They still happens. If a spirit, let's say, if my grandma in the spiritual world is really trying to alert me to call my attention for some reason, she may be able to produce a physical phenomena if there is a physical or medium physical effect around. She may be able to get some ectoplasm and produce noises or raps, whatever thing, to call my attention. I don't think it's completely abolished. It is not used in spiritual centers. It's not used to call attention for those who are interested in study the phenomena, because now there is no more need to prove anything anymore. And now we understand that there is the mediums of intelligent effect who are able to speak the thought of the spirit, who are able to write the thought of the spirit, which is much more efficient. But if, let's say, if my grandma wants to tell me something right now that is important, and there's no medium of intelligent effect, it's not the right time, right thing, she might try to do it by using a physical phenomenon. The question is, will I pay attention to it? Will I give any importance to it? Or will I just brush it off and end up wasting an opportunity of receiving that message? Or will I do like Kardec did? So listen, there's something happening in my house that I think is a physical manifestation. Can you check for me? You are medium. Can you verify for me? And you may, and then my grandma will be able to give the message to that medium to me. I think it has not been abolished. It still happens. It doesn't happen in spiritual centers anymore, because now you understand the much more efficient way of communication through intelligent effects. Go ahead, the other question.
Yes, I have a question, because I'm wondering, if a person is not a medium and they hear noises and they aren't aware of mediums, how do they ever get the information?
Probably they never get the information. If you are like Kardec, they have the prudence to go and look for a mirror and try to understand. Maybe we are being bombarded by noise over there and just ignoring it. They always have that stories. That's my position of when there is like a big disaster of the airplane that falls and everybody dies, and there is one who was supposed to go on that flight, but something told them not to do it. Something happened, they ended up not going. They're supposed to be on that flight. I keep imagining how many of those who were in that plane who died in that tragic accident, perhaps have been alerted not to go there and completely ignored that. I'm most likely to be one of those victims, just ignore whatever noise is happening, whatever things there. So I don't care about that, and end up victimized.
I understand perfectly. Thank you.
And Elmo, and that way to call the attention probably would be done by repetition, right? Because if it was like a unique event, there's no way for us to even consider that the spirit trying to communicate, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Like in the case of Kardec, 4 hours uninterrupted, bothering the guy for 4 hours to give him a very important message or something else. Writing was not correct. They need to make corrections. Yeah, it'll be pretty persistent. But then again, it depends how persistent is that spirit, right? Maybe they're the type like myself. Well, I tried once, tried twice, nothing happened to extract you out. I'm done. And St. Louis almost persistent for 4 hours, keep bothering the guy. For a good reason, for important reason.
Thank you.
So I think we create here a kind of almost an antagonic statement that noises happen, especially if you live in a house, that a wood house, gonna be a lot of noise that is part of living in a house, But if I'm able to distinguish the ones that are kind of different and choose to pay attention to it, I think it's a good idea. I think we tend to ignore a lot of little things that may be important. But at the same time, if one is going to be paying attention to a little noise in the house, have a little crackling of wood, man, perhaps you're not going to have peace and sleep at all. So if something, as you said, is persistent, it seems to be repetitions, it seems to follow a somewhat or a pattern, perhaps should pay more attention to it.
Okay,
Okay.
87.
Yep.
Okay. Spontaneous manifestations are not always limited to noises and raps. They sometimes degenerate into variable racket and disturbances. Furniture and other objects are flipped over. Various projectiles are huddled about outside the room. Doors and windows are open and closed by invisible hands, and window panes are broken. None of this can be attributed to illusion. This disorder is quite often very real, though at times it is only apparent. A racket may be heard in an adjoining room. The crash of diningware as it apparently hits the floor, or logs of wood rolling around. Then when one runs to investigate, everything is found to be peaceful and in order. However, leave the room and the turmoil starts all over again.
Okay, so now Kardec suggests there are also some spontaneous manifestation that cannot be coming from good sources because the facts are not good. When you use the word disturbance, more evolved, well-intended spirit will not cause disturbances, right? You will not break furniture, you will not break glasses and things that happen. It's not an illusion because you see that things are falling off the shelves and things happen. It's not an illusion. It's just a fact. And those facts, since at times it happens when no one is present in your room. You open the door, things seems to quiet. You close the door, things seems to start again. So there is things happening, not illusion. It's not illusion because you see the effect of it. That deserves to be investigated. In the case of poltergeist, then it's totally real, with absolutely no mechanical, no physical source. And when all the investigation is done, the only thing that is left behind is spiritual nature, then you have to do an investigation of spiritual causes of it. But of course, again,
Elmo, I have
you'd not expect that to become from more evolved spirits. More evolved spirits do
exactly.
not create problems. Go ahead, Pak, I'm sorry.
No, you just answered my question.
Okay.
Wow, you had it, huh? Wow, I can't believe this. Oh my God. Do you know what happened just now? Wow.
All right, any more
Interesting.
questions?
Wow.
Any more questions? What time? Our time is up.
Wow. Elmo, that was, wow.
It's telepathy.
I guess. Wow.
Yeah, well, I don't think I have time to start another one, but I have time for another question, another comment. Anybody wants to try? Okay, so any volunteer to make a final prayer?
I'll make the final prayer, Alma. It's okay.
Thank you, Zoraida.
Yeah. To our spiritual benefactors, our guardian angels, and our most beloved Jesus, our teacher. With our hearts full of gratitude, we thank you for their assistance in helping our teachers in delivering these beautiful messages of the Spirit's book and the Medium's book. We are so grateful to understand, enlightening our lives and who we are, why are we here, and where we came from. We thank them for that now and always. We pray, dear Father, for all that are going through difficulties in our planet Earth. We pray and we ask that they be continued to be assisted and helped. Those who have gone through their transition to the spirit world, we send you our love and our prayers. May we continue throughout the week studying and doing all that we can to help humanity here and in the spirit world. We thank you, dear Lord, and we ask as we conclude our meeting here today to be here again next week and continue our studies of most importance. We thank you, dear Lord, and we ask permission to close our meeting tonight. So be it.